feel like we've kind of been through the fire lately as far as the way things have changed in our lives over this last year and a half or so? How many of you would have liked to go through that without knowing Jesus? Aren't you thankful that we didn't have to? Aren't you thankful that as Christians, we never go through trials and fires and tribulations without Jesus? And aren't you thankful that everything that he went through when he was here on earth, he went through it with us in mind, knowing that if we would trust him, put our faith in him, that we'd never go through anything alone. We were always on his mind.
Decision, and the door. I make mistakes and often slip, just common flesh and bone. But I'll prove someday just what I say. I'm of a special kind. When he was on the cross, I was on his mind. The look of love was on his face, over on his head. The blood was on his scarlet robe, and it stained it crimson red. Though his eyes were on the crowd that day, he looked ahead in time. For when he was on the cross, I was on his mind. He knew me. Yeah, he loved me. He was glory made, the heaven shine. I'm so unworthy of such mercy. Yet when he was on the cross, I was on his mind. I'm so unworthy of such mercy. Yet when he was on the cross, I was on his mind. Yet when he was on the cross, you and I were on his mind.
Thank you all. Well done. We are going to continue in the book of Proverbs. And let me just mention this as a reminder. Proverbs, book of Proverbs is made up of ancient wisdom. This is wisdom that is thousands of years old from Israel's sages, the wise people of Israel. We get this wisdom from, the wisdom comes from experience, observation, revelation from God. And we have these proverbs to help us live God's way. And often it's just practical wisdom on how to live God's way. This morning we're going to look at some of the verses, some of the Proverbs in chapters 19 and 20. And they're related to each other in that they deal with anger. These are anger proverbs. me ask you, how many of you have lost your temper? Okay. Let me just admit, I have never lost my temper. I know exactly where it is at all times. It's always right there on the surface, unfortunately. No, we all have anger, and each of us has to deal with it to some extent. For some, anger is not a big problem. For others, like myself, it is a big problem. And I will admit, anger is something I've struggled with pretty much my whole life. So a lot of this comes from, my own personal experience and testimony here. Anger is not a sin. Getting mad on occasion is not wrong. Now, anger can be wrong and it can become sin, but having angry outbursts on occasion is not a bad thing. Remember what Paul wrote in Ephesians: be angry, but don't sin in your anger. Jesus, on occasion, got angry. These proverbs here are to help us manage our anger. Not get rid of it, but manage it, so that we're not out of control and anything goes as far as anger is concerned. But these proverbs will help us manage our anger. One thing that's brought out here in these chapters is beware of misdirected anger. Misdirected anger. This is chapter 19, verse 3. One's own folly leads to ruin, yet the heart rages against the Lord. We make a foolish decision, we make a bad decision, and it turns out badly for us, and we get angry at God about it. God, why did you do this? What are you doing here? Why are you doing this to me? Wrong. We are the ones who made the decision, and it turned out badly. Our fault. And I'll add, getting angry at someone else for our foolish decision, bad decision that turned out badly. Also misdirected anger. Well, if it wasn't for my bone-headed brother, this would have turned out better. No, we were the ones who made the decision. If Patty and I decided to sell our possessions, move to Hawaii, and live on coconut and bananas, and it turned out badly for us, who should we get mad at? Now, ourselves. God didn't give us the go-ahead to do that. We decided that. The thing is about misdirected anger, when we get angry at God or someone else for our own foolish decisions, we probably aren't going to learn from it, and we're probably going to repeat it again. Beware of misdirected anger. Another thing that's brought out here in these chapters is strive for slow anger, slow offense. Chapter 19, verse 11, those with good sense are slow to anger, and it is their glory to overlook an offense. Related is chapter 20, verse 3. It is honorable to refrain from strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. A big step toward managing our anger is recognizing that it is good to be slow to anger and slow to take offense. That's a good thing. Quick-tempered, being insulted at every little thing that's said is bad. Quick-tempered being offended ever is a bad thing. Slow to anger, slow to take offense is a good thing. It's good to recognize as far as managing our anger. Another thing good, another step to take as far as managing our anger is afterwards examining our angry outbursts, examining them. What provoked me to anger? What did I do that was good? What did I do that was bad? I can do better next time. Ask God to help us with this, so that we don't go too far and it gets out of hand. As I said, anger is something I've struggled with my whole life. These are things that I've found to be helpful in managing anger. I'm not where I need to be, but I'm better than I used to be. Another thing that's helpful, and we're talking about slow to anger, slow to take offense. Another thing that's helpful in managing anger is learning how to handle certain situations. When it comes to sports and traffic, those are areas where there's some angry outbursts and things can get out of hand quickly. Sports and traffic. If a referee makes a bad call, it is okay to get mad at him and let him know he was wrong. But don't go overboard with insulting him. Don't no insults. Don't make it personal. Don't keep after him. Have our say and let it go. Talking about managing anger here. Same with traffic. The driver does something stupid, almost hits you, almost causes you to wreck. Blow the horn, let him know, hey, wake up there. I'm here. Let it go. No pursuing the guy to get payback. No pursuing the guy to do some harm. By the same token, if we do a boneheaded move while driving and someone blows their horn at us and lets us know we were stupid, take it. Don't flare up as well. I mean, you did wrong there. It was a bonehead move. Don't make things worse by you getting mad and then you got road rage and then talk about managing anger here. Learning how to handle certain situations. When it comes to family, husbands and wives can be super sensitive to comments from the other. Husbands and wives can be super sensitive. Friends, other family members, co-workers, neighbors can say the same kinds of things. If a husband and wife says it to each other, they can flare up and becomes, World War III. Husband says to his wife, honey, you look good tonight. And she's like, tonight? What do you mean by that? You mean I don't look good all the other nights? What are you getting at? They go into World War III. Not everything is an insult. There's not a hidden agenda behind every comment. I like that verse 3 there, what it says. It is honorable to refrain from strife. When it comes to church and work, repeat this to ourselves. It is okay to agree to disagree. It is okay to agree to disagree. It is okay to agree to disagree. Do not have to try to make everybody see it my way. That's part of the children's moments there. Paul, one of his, part of Paul's definition of Christian love in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, love does not insist on its own way. Something I've had to remind myself of lots of times. It's a Bible study. not Bible argument. We're to discuss the Bible, not argue it. When it comes to certain subjects, we may need to avoid them or handle them gently. If you and I disagree on politics, and we've had lots of knockdown, drag out fights over politics, we don't need to bring it up again. We need to let that go as an off-limits subject. Talk about handling anger here. If husbands and wives have a different opinion about money, how to manage it, what to do with it, saving it, spending it, have a different opinion, have lots of knockdown, drag-outs over money, but still need to talk about it from time to time, do so gently. Respect each other's views on it. Slow to anger, slow to offense. Good thing. Working toward managing our anger. Another thing that's brought up in our passage about anger is avoid violent anger. Verse 19 of chapter 19, a violent-tempered person will pay the penalty. If you effect a rescue, you will only have to do it again. Violence has no place in our disagreements, our angry disagreements, our angry outbursts. We're arguing with our husband, wife, friend, co-worker, neighbor, fellow church member. It gets heated. No resorting to violence. That is going too far. Paul wrote, be angry, but do not sin in your anger. Well, resorting to violence is sin. That's going too far. Avoid violence in our anger. The goal of anger is not to get rid of it, but to manage it. Hear me now. If managed, an occasional angry outburst can be a good thing. Occasional angry outburst. It's like with steam. You know, steam builds up pressure. If you don't have a valve there to release some of that, what's going to happen? Explosion. Something bad's going to happen. Same thing with anger. It can build up. There needs to be a release there. And angry outburst on occasion can be a good thing. The goal of anger management is threefold. And we touched on these. 1, reduce angry outbursts to occasionally, not frequently. 2, don't go too far in our anger. Don't sin in our anger. And 3, after the angry outburst, let go. After the anger, let go of it. No hanging on to the anger so that it becomes resentment, bitterness, unforgiveness. If it calls for it, be willing and able to ask for forgiveness afterwards. If it calls for it, be willing and able to forgive afterwards and move on. Now, there's one other thing that's brought up in these chapters about anger. It goes in a different direction, and I'd make this an addendum to this angry message. And it's God's anger. In chapter 19, verse 12, a king's anger is like the growling of a lion, but his favor is like dew on the grass. And then related is chapter 20, verse 2. The dread anger of a king is like the growling of a lion. It's the same thing twice today. Anyone who provokes him to anger forfeits life itself. I'm applying the king to God here. We do not want to make God angry. That's going to have bad results there. Well, what do we do? What will make God angry at us? Just going to have a quick survey of the Bible to look at different times God got angry and what provoked it. In the Old Testament, God got angry on occasion, and one of the things that provoked it was when Israel or people sinned, brought out God's anger, rebelled against God, particularly idolatry. And on occasion, God got so angry he wanted to destroy Israel. In the New Testament, Jesus got angry on occasion. One thing that provoked his anger was hypocrisy. He cursed the scribes, Pharisees, religious leaders of his day for their hypocrisy. They acted like they were good, but they weren't good. That made him angry. Being hard-hearted angered Jesus. He was going to heal a guy one time, but it was on the Sabbath. The religious leaders there, and he could just sense their disapproval. And he got angry at their hard-heartedness, lack of compassion, lack of love, angers Jesus. And then turning the things of God into a racket to make money angered Jesus. Remember in the temple, we saw the money changers and all the stuff going on there. He went turning over tables and chasing out the money changers. That angers him. We want to avoid those kinds of things. Well, let me bring the angry message to a conclusion and tie it all together. This is something I've said before, and I will say again. If we will believe in Jesus, that is, follow Jesus the rest of our lives, day in and day out, live the way he lived, live the way he taught us to live, it will help us with our anger. It will help us with God's anger. Jesus is the ultimate peacemaker.